buttons. Okay, so I'm Chef Jessica. If you have not joined before, welcome. You are in Math Foundations. This is our last class of this for this term. We start them over every term though, so don't worry there. Chef Kenna is here with me. She's manning the chat. Feel free to throw in questions, anything like that. As we're going, we're kind of just going to go over weight conversions today. Yeah, kind of touch base on that, go over some practice problems, things along that line. I will stop it here and there for questions. I mean, there's not a ton of us, so if you have any questions, feel free to, raise your hand, unmute yourself. I'd rather you know than not know and struggle. So jump in if needed, throw it in the chat if you're shy, no big deal there. I'm gonna share my screen. And I guess just gonna cover briefly everything y'all missed, kind of really fast rundown, just so everyone knows some basic stuff. We have your rounding principles. You always look to the number to the right when you're rounding. 4 and below is what I call our nice numbers. They don't make their neighbor change who they are, so it stays the same. 5 and above, you round up, or what I call your bossy numbers. So they force their neighbor to change who they are. Again, just touching over this fast. You can access all of our old workshops though, if you missed all of our sessions on our tutor page. So I encourage you to go back and look at those. If you do need more practice with these, they're on there, and you can book a session with us if you do need extra help. Knowing your number placement's huge. You can't round to the nearest hundredth if you don't know where your hundredth spot is. So there's definitely big. Your hundredths is definitely the same as your cents. I know you'll see that a lot, round to the nearest cent. So again, just gonna skim over that really quickly. Rounding percentages, you do the same thing. The only time you do not round is when you are talking servings and portion sizes. You have to drop everything to the right of that decimal. You can't serve a partial portion. You can't serve somebody 3/4 of a pasta dish, apparently is what I got here, because it's not a full serving. You're not going to charge them the full price for that partial, so it's only 2. Again, that is the only time you do not round. Covering fractions, decimals, percents briefly. If you don't know this, I encourage you to take a quick picture of this, because this is literally all you need to know for fractions, decimals, percents. When you see a fraction, you should just know that top number divided by the bottom number. That slash sign is a divide symbol. You'll get a decimal. To get that decimal to a percentage, you can multiply by 100, or you can move that decimal 2 spots to the right. Whichever is easiest for you or helps you more, do it that way. That's the exact same thing. I personally like multiplying by 100, but I'm a math person, so that's probably why. Common conversions, again, this is just good stuff to know. You see these quite a lot. You have your quarter, your third, your half, 2/3, 3/4. These are definitely just different fractions, decimals, percents you see throughout all of culinary, really. So if you don't know these, you will eventually. Hopefully you're starting to already as you guys are progressing throughout your classes. Again, going through it quickly, this is what we covered last week, was the volume conversions and knowing how many cups are in a quart, how many pints are in a cup, gallons, tablespoons, all that good stuff. I'm going to pause it here for, I don't know, I'm really bad with like dead air space, but take a picture. Write this down if you need to. If you have not written this down yet, you need to. Master Grand cheat sheet. You can have this in front of you. You can have all this in front of you when you're taking any of your tests, knowledge checks, conversions. So why not? Miranda, you have a question?
Yeah. Is this for like percentages and stuff as well, like when you're doing like recipes and things, or is this only conversions for when you want to like increase ingredients in a recipe or decrease it? Is this what this is about?
Both, I guess, to answer your question. This is more when you're looking at that recipe and you're Some of it you need to know though for the conversions with the math part of it. I guess, yeah, both with the percentages as well. Because on some of those knowledge checks you guys have or conversion checks, you'll
Mhm.
have questions like that you'll need to know how many gallons are in or how many cups are in a gallon to be able to convert it down to. But it
Mhm.
goes along the same principles as if you're scaling your recipe up and down as well.
Thank you. Could we make cheat sheets for that and then hang them up in our kitchen?
Yeah,
Okay. I didn't know if that was like
100%.
I didn't know if
Yes.
that was allowed or not because I'm
Oh,
not good at
yes.
math.
It
Okay,
is
thank you.
100% allowed. Use all of that to your advantage. I mean, you can literally have it like written down in front of you while you're
Mhm.
taking your test. So why
Okay.
would you not?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like one of those things like you have a calculator in your back pocket, use it. So, yeah, Google
True.
is your best friend. All of this stuff, if you don't remember, if you don't have your cheat sheet, or if you're, who knows, in someone else's kitchen, you can always Google this stuff. I mean, you can literally Google how many quarts are in, how many pints are in a quart, how many quarts are in a gallon. If you
Okay.
totally forget or have a brain fart, like we all do sometimes, Google's your best friend. Um, I know that sounds really silly and easy, but like Google knows everything.
I do have one more question. I don't know if you can answer it or not.
Yeah.
I want like my own bakery. So I want like my own business, but I know that we have like a 6-week externship that we'll have to do. And again, I already told you I'm not the best at math. So I just kind of want a heads up. Are we allowed to use our phones or calculators on the job when they want us to like do conversions, or do they expect us to do it like just in our heads?
So it definitely is going to depend on where you're working and if they let you have your phone. If
Mhm.
not, they definitely still want you to do the math right and should have a calculator then if you can't use your phone. Like I've had like a little tiny, you know what I mean, calculator in the kitchen before because they'd rather
Okay.
have your costs right and all that right, or your math right, or your recipe right. And if
Mhm.
you need to do it in a calculator, that's fine. Because
Okay.
if you're going to do it in your head and screw it up, you're just going to cost them money, which is like
True.
never a good thing. Um,
Okay.
Granted, that's my own personal opinion. If anyone ever works somewhere that doesn't allow that, I'm going to be really curious to hear about it.
Okay. Thank you.
So
And
yeah.
and Miranda, the place that I run, we have all those conversions posted up everywhere.
Okay.
So
That
we
would be
don't have to
wonderful.
guess. We can double check ourselves. Plus, most of the time though, our recipes are written in the metric system, and so it's a
Okay.
lot easier to scale it up and down because you're not having to like do 2 3/4 cups or something like that. It's just a quick number.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but don't worry. This is real
Baker's math.
life. Real life and the baker's math for sure. Like we expect that we're always going to have life is open book. So same thing. We've got our recipes, all of our math references and stuff like that because we're really good at like cooking and baking, but a lot of us are not great at math. So
Okay,
don't
good. Because
worry.
I was like, this is that time in high school when they're like, I used to think, oh, I don't need to pay attention to this. I'm not ever going to use this. And then I'm like, I love baking. And then I get involved in school and I'm like, there it is.
It's
Now I'm
so
like,
true. So
I'm just kind
true.
of kicking myself right now. So I'm like, I better pay attention.
Yeah, no, no worries. I like kind of that's the best line I think I've heard. Like life is open book.
Yeah.
Use what you have and what resources you have to your advantage all the time and everything, always.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, for sure. I think somebody else just raised their hand and then put it down. I don't know if you actually, if you had a question, where'd you
Yeah,
go?
my question actually got answered in the chat. Thank you, though.
Okay, cool. Cool. Awesome. Well, that was a great segue to pause on this for a while. So thanks, Miranda. Hope everyone took a picture of this or wrote it down while we were doing all that. Anyway, bypassing that, this is what we're doing today. Weight conversions. So again, same ideas as your volume conversions, but now we're talking on the scale of Wayne. We're going to kind of combine these principles as well today in some of our practices. Write this down, take a picture. Again, I'm going to pause it here. I even looked at the clock because I never wait. I can never wait that long. So, so going over them, if you'll notice, you have 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams. So a kilogram is literally means 1,000. 1 equals 1,000. I said that backwards. If you'll notice, 1,000 grams also equals 1 liter. So those are interchangeable, which is really cool and nice and easy to remember. And they're clean cut and even 1 to 1,000. Also, the OCD math part of my brain really likes that. So you have your 1,000 milliliters to 1 liter. Trying to think of a good example. Like if you look at like a Coke bottle or olive oil, you'll see it says like 1 liter or 1,000 milliliters or 750 milliliters equals 28.3 ounces or whatever it is. But you'll see it on the bottle and it's really kind of cool. I wish I had a Coke bottle. I did not plan that well enough. Just went upstairs. But you guys have all seen that. If you haven't, pay attention next time because it's kind of fascinating. And to just kind of go off on that tangent, you can definitely see how many like serving sizes are in that bottle, how many, and then you can kind of calculate how many you need to buy for your recipes based on that. Anyway, talk about that forever. A deciliter, this 1 liter equals 10 deciliters. I'm going to tell you guys, you will never use that in the kitchen ever. Never, ever, ever. It's on like one problem in one class in this entire Escoffier program. And when you see it, just remember 10 deciliters is 1 liter. I swear that is the only time you will ever use it. Worst case, just forget this and get that one wrong. That's what I would do. I would not pay attention to this guy. But we threw him up here because somebody had to put it in a question. So I know. I haven't checked the questions in a while though. Maybe they got rid of it and we're just telling people about it for no reason. Hope that's the case. Now the ounces, grams, those you're going to use a lot. Like Chef Kenna, these are what you use every day. This is the bread and butter.
100%. Yep. In making bread and butter. Yes.
Exactly. Maybe more on the baking pastry side than the cooking side of things. But even then, you're usually doing it on weights. So 1 ounce equals 28.35 grams. 1 pound equals 16 ounces. 1 pound equals 454 grams. Cool part about this in regards to, each other and those volume conversions, they're kind of interchangeable in the sense if you remember 1 or 2 of them or a few of them, but not all of them, you can kind of piece it together to get the answer you need, which is knowing the info you do know. Hopefully, you do have to know something still. Something starting off. Common weight conversions. I'm again going to pause this, take a picture, write it down. This one's a good one to know. This kind of combines what we did last week with this week. You have your volumes, which also, if you looked at like a 1 cup measuring cup, it'll say 8 ounces on it. Same idea, also 16 tablespoons, all interchangeable, all the same thing. 1 pint, 16 ounces. For you beer drinkers, when you go to the bar and order a pint, now you at least know it's 16 ounces you're drinking every time. Or if they give you the big mug, it's usually 25 ounces. But anyway, it's a different thing. Quart, 32 ounces. Gallons, 128 ounces. Again, these are really interchangeable. Like if you can remember there's 8 ounces in a cup and there's 16 cups in a gallon, you can figure out how many ounces are in your gallon based off of that. So kind of working your math. Again, that's why I love math. Do we have any questions here?
No, not really, but I just kind of wanted to just jump in and mention,
Yeah.
remember that, so these are the weight conversions for your fluid measurements. So think of whole milk, whole fresh eggs, and water, or things that are a very similar consistency to water. So these will not apply to your dry goods. So you can't weigh out flour this way or sugar or anything like that. And even your other more denser things like molasses or corn syrup are going to be a lot heavier than this. So this common weight conversions is fantastic to use for all of your liquid measurements, but just kind of don't forget your density is a lot different with things like flour, sugar, and that kind of stuff. So
It's a
just
great
wanted to make
point.
sure the baker's math in me wants to make sure I clarify.
Yeah, no, it's true though, because you would never weigh out 8 ounces in a liquid measuring cup for flour. You're gonna weigh
Yeah.
out your 8 ounces, probably in grams on a scale is the difference. So Shayla, do you have a question?
So, okay, just making sure. So there will never be a moment where we're going to be using this for dry ingredients such as flour or sugar. Is that correct?
Correct. This is
Okay.
going again with like the weight part of it, but so you know, I don't know, I guess home kitchen wise, you do some of this at home with some of the recipes you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So does everyone have, I guess this is the big one to have down too. We're good there? All right. Gonna try just some basic examples and then I'm gonna dive into some flashcards too. And kind of just one of those things, the more you do it, the more you practice, the better you'll get, unfortunately, like all things in math. So how many ounces are in a pound?
16.
Perfect. Definitely. Yay. I know, I almost didn't even hide the answers. I'm like, I feel like these are so like, you just wrote them down, I hope, or took a picture. How many grams are in a pound? Chef Kenna. Yeah,
This is one I use literally all the time. So this is the problem with especially the baking world is we're purchasing everything in cases by the pound, and yet our recipes are in grams. And so all of that interchange kind of is a big thing that we are measuring constantly, especially when you get
I was gonna
into
say you
food
are
cost. Yeah.
specifically your
Yes.
job.
This is my job.
It
Yeah.
is.
There you go. Donna got it 454.
Perfect. Yeah. See, that's a great real life example though of why you would use this, when you would use it, and you will use it. Miranda, if that's not a great example with running your bakery, I don't know what it is. How many
Miranda, we could
ounces?
talk for hours about that.
Yeah, seriously. So again, talking fluid. I'm glad Chef Kenner pointed that out. How many ounces are in a cup?
Eight.
Perfect. Nice job. Think. Oh, one more. How many ounces are in a gallon?
128.
Exactly. Nice job. All right, let's jump into some basic flashcards. And then we'll do some more complicated flashcards, but feel free to throw your answer in the chat, say it out loud. Yeah, whatever, either way, as long as you're doing it, it's cool with me. How many ounces are in 1 tablespoon?
3.
Sure.
Oh, no, that's 12.
We've got one answer in the chat that says 0.5.
All right, Juliana, sorry if I said your name wrong. You have a question?
4 ounces, right?
What'd you say?
You asked how many ounces in 1 tablespoon? It's 4 ounces, right?
Nope. It is
No.
0.5. Because if
0.5.
Yep, if you think about some of the stuff we kind of went over last week, we know there are 16 tablespoons in 1 cup. Like that was one of our conversions that you know.
3 tablespoons is 1/4 cup, right? I'm wrong too.
Yeah, it's 4.
Okay, that's what I say. Okay, so it's 4 tablespoons is 1/4 cup.
Correct.
1/4 cup is
2 ounces.
2 ounces. Okay. Okay, I do wrong my math. I thought was 4 tablespoons. I thought was 3 tablespoons is 1/4 cup. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. But yeah, I mean, kind of going off of that, a way you can figure it out, if you know there's 16 tablespoons in 1 cup, you also know 1 cup is 8 ounces. You can take that 16, I think I'm doing this the wrong way. No, I'm not. Yes,
No.
I am. 16 divided by 8. 2.
Yeah.
See, I knew I was doing it the wrong way. I'm terrible. Your 8 ounces divided by your 16 tablespoons gets you 0.5. Basically meaning each tablespoon is 0.5 ounces to equal 1 cup. That's how I would figure that out.
Okay, but sometimes, well, I don't know, I say right in ounces, but sometimes certain ingredients doesn't have the same amount of ounces. For example, like a salt or pepper or
We're talking like volume, weight, like liquid
onion.
things. Yeah,
Okay.
like water, broth,
Okay.
I don't know what else. Those are milk,
Or oil, right?
liquid. Yeah, liquid weight conversion.
Okay.
But yes, you're correct with that. Like we were saying with the flour, sugar, those you weigh by the gram. You are not doing like cup to ounces type of stuff.
So for this when it's like a not liquid, the other one like a salt and pepper, we can find somewhere
The volume one, yeah, that was last week's. I will show you where to find that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
So let me
How many ounces are in 1 cup?
8 ounces.
8 ounces. Perfect. Nice job. How many ounces are in 1 pint? Again, your beer drinkers. I know there's a few of you in there. Don't know who they are. I have a feeling Harold's one of them. I'm just going to say it. Kenna, Chef Kenna's a beer drinker. Don't you like whiskey, or does that just assumed all Kentuckians like whiskey?
Yes, of course. We're bourbon snobs for sure.
I
But
was
we
going to say,
can,
that's just assumed.
well, sure. But we like everything.
Do we have some answers to this one?
16. Oh, which one is that? 16.
Perfect. Harold, you're not a beer drinker? What a
What?
guess.
No, he said he likes moonshine.
No.
Also,
Too
something
much
the Kentuckians
carbonation.
love as well.
The moonshine. Yeah, you guys have some good moonshine down there.
Oh, I like to make my own, so.
Oh yeah, you're up north in Michigan. That's kind of another trait.
32 ounces. Yeah.
32 ounces. Nice job.
It's only illegal if you sell it.
It's probably true.
It is illegal in Kentucky to distill it for home consumption, which is so sad. But other
Really?
states have, yeah, other
I was
states
gonna
have
say, I don't
different.
think Michigan's one of those.
We can actually make a certain amount a year as long as you
Nice.
don't sell it.
You
Oh,
can give it away as a gift, though.
Yes, that you can.
I did know
okay.
that.
Maybe I'm in the wrong state, y'all.
I think so.
Come on up. We got more room.
I got a question.
Yeah,
On
Alicia.
the liquids that we're doing now. This might be stupid, but
It's not.
butter, when it's solid or when we have to melt it to use it, is it considered a solid when it's solid? Is it considered a liquid when we have to melt it?
Yeah, I would say butter's considered a solid if I was to guess, only because it's solid at room temperature versus like your olive oil is a liquid. It's not solid at room temperature, if I'm remembering that correctly. Chef Kenna, do you know that answer?
Sure. So in thinking about as far as weights and volumes,
Right.
your density is not going to change very much from a solid state to a liquid state in water. Really, the only time it changes a whole lot in density is actually when you freeze it, because the water that's inside the butter expands. And so it'll actually have more volume when it's frozen. which is an odd thing, but honestly, not by that much that matters. So in our type of scale operations, those types of things don't matter too much. So your 8 ounces of butter in like a liquid measuring cup, if it's melted, versus like it being solid and you like cutting it up, is going to be very, very close, minimally different. So
Okay.
you shouldn't have a problem with butter, but that's a really good question.
I've never compared the two, like to see the difference and how they weigh.
Yeah. It's
So-
really nothing crazy. No, it's like maybe like 1% different. So not enough to really matter
Matter.
too much. Not too much.
That's a great
What-
question.
Was her question based on when we are doing conversions with butter, like if they again, like if we need to make like if it calls for a batch of like 4 muffins or something, but you need to make like 14, if you need to increase that for the butter, are they going by like the liquid version of it, or like, because for me, like whenever I'm baking, if they want butter melted, I just didn't know if it's just standard to always like cut up your butter like when it's cold and measure it out that way because it is a solid, and then you just melt it down by that point instead of
That's
like
what I-
trying to melt it
yeah.
down and then measure. Okay. I was just
That's what
making
I
sure
would
I
do.
understood that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. But because they are so similar, it's really awesome. So like, for example, in our operation, we keep a pitcher of melted butter just kind
I
of
was
like
just gonna say
in
that.
the middle of
Oh,
the
wow.
room at all times, because we need it for so many recipes. Oh, sorry, that's my dog. That's my bad, y'all.
Yeah, to kind of go off what Chef Kenna was saying, there are some instances that you have like melted butter, or like if you are, let's say, a seafood restaurant, you're probably going to have melted butter often, or clarified butter, something like that. But so you could measure it and weigh it in like a measuring cup, or you could, if it was solid, measure it based off like cutting your tablespoons or your
Okay.
quarter cup or whatever. I think you could do either or, and they're pretty interchangeable depending on whatever your recipe's calling for.
Yeah, because I didn't know which one would be considered easier or if it really is about the same amount of work, really.
Yeah, I would just measure it whatever state it's in. So if you have like a stick of butter, measure it that way. If it's already melted, measure it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's great spirit in that. I think we answered this. How many ounces are in 1 gallon? You already answered this tonight, to give you an FYI. Trick question.
Everyone's waiting because we're like, we already answered it.
I know, I'm like, I'm not hearing any 128 ounces, but I know you know
Yes.
it.
There we go. Thanks, Miranda. She's like, let's keep going. Let's go.
Yes. How many grams are in a kilogram? I think these are like the easiest.
Perfect.
Yeah, 1,000. How many milliliters are in a liter?
A 1,000, I think.
Exactly. Nice job. How many grams are in 1 pound? This one is the most common. This one will be ingrained in your brain at some point. Tomorrow. At some point, you won't even have to think about this.
Is this
you'll just-
454 or no?
Yeah, it is. Nice job. How many ounces are in 1 pound?
16?
Exactly. Again, that's another one that you're going to just be like, you just know. At some point, you'll be there. How many grams are in 1 ounce? Again, you could figure this out with some of the info we just were told. If you know there's 454 grams in a pound, and you also know there are 16 ounces in a pound, you can take that 454 divided by 16. It's not exact because there was rounding, but it's a way to get close. 28.35 grams. Math breakdown too. That's close enough. When we're talking grams, that's awfully close. Grams are so teeny tiny. Why they're great to measure in, because they're so exact. How many grams are in a liter? I don't think I told you this. I think this is a trick one on here. I'm just going to tell you all the answer. Unless somebody gets it. If somebody gets it, I know you're using Google. Oh, just kidding. I did tell you this. I'm losing my mind today, y'all. It's 1,000. Aisha, do you have a question? Am I confusing you?
Yes, chef. So, when we're doing recipes and it'll say like we need 7.5 grams, and I'll weigh it on the scale, but it's not in decimals. So I get a little confused with that because the grams don't come in decimals and I don't know how that works.
So grams are so teeny tiny. There usually isn't a decimal on a scale for grams. What I would do if I was doing like 7.5, you can weigh 7 and then you can weigh like 8 and then you can just take a little bit off. So it's like the in between 7 and 8. Does that make sense? That's what I would do.
Okay, thank you, chef.
Yeah, but there's not a way to measure 7.5, most likely.
Okay,
Most kitchen scales, at least. Not that I've seen.
thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question. And this is 1,000 grams. I thought I was asking a different question. See, I'm not even listening to my own advice, reading the question. It's like my number one advice to culinary math, read the question. The question tells you how many deciliters that you're never gonna use are in a liter. See, maybe that'll help you remember it because you never will use it. But deci or deca or des means 10. And then you have liter, so it means 10 equals 1. Like if you think of a decade, decade's 10 years. It's a good way to remember it. 10 deciliters. All right, those are the easy ones. Let me jump into the hard ones. Does anyone have any questions right now?
Nothing in the chat as we're going ahead, but looks like everyone's just practicing, jumping in.
All
Doing
right,
good.
now we're gonna do some math with those conversions. I know, combining things, but you'll be good. So how many ounces are in 6 tablespoons? So your first step, you would want to know how many ounces are in 1 tablespoon. If you have your cheat sheet in front of you, or if you remember from our conversation a little bit ago, that would be 0.5 in 1 tablespoon. So again, doing your math, take that 0.5, multiply it by your 6, because you got 6 of them.
It's nine, not 5.5.
Did everyone come up with 3? Nice job. I see some 3s in the chat. How many ounces are in 9 tablespoons? I'm not going to walk you through it. That's half my battle is I always want to talk about the problem, but it's like I need to let you guys do it because I can do it. It's like my number one struggle. I'm really bad at just sitting still and not doing things.
4.5.
Did you say 4.5?
Uh-huh.
Nice job. That's exactly right. Is that what we're getting in the chat? Nice job, everyone. How many ounces are in 3 cups? How many ounces are in 1 cup?
24.
Yeah, definitely. Just did the math. So yeah, you do that 8 ounces in 1 cup, multiply it by your 3.
Mm-hmm.
We
24.
got 3 cups. And we got 24 ounces.
Mhm.
How many grams are in 4 liters? And how many grams are in 1 liter? Find that answer. And then you do your math, multiply it by 4. See, I'm still talking you through it.
What are 4 liters?
Nice job, Zipporo. Zipporo. Gonna say your name wrong. I'm so bad. And Gidget?
It's okay. Yeah, you
Did
got it.
Zipporo?
Yeah,
Zippora?
it's a zip or zip. Z-I-P. Zip.
Zip?
Yeah.
I would totally go by Zip if that was my name.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
most people
so
do.
fun. I love
I know, I'm
that.
like, that would be so much fun. Hey, Zip. Love
I'm
it.
used to that too.
Yeah, I'm like, I love it. It's such a unique name, though. I think I
Thank
like the unique names the best because mine's really boring. Jessica. So common. Did we get a bunch of 4,000s?
We did. We've got a couple. Yep.
How about how many ounces are in 8 cups?
They're getting trickier a little bit, Miss Jessica.
There's some math involved. So you got your conversions and then there's some math with those conversions. So again, you know, there's 8 ounces in 1 cup. You take that 8 and you multiply it by 8 and you
64.
should have gotten 64 ounces.
Awesome. You know, these liquid ones are also really great for applying to batching out like alcoholic beverages. I mean, in the hospitality industry, we're talking about full service events, right? So you're batching out cocktails ahead of time. You need to know how many ounces of whatever goes into your cocktail and you're scaling it up. So these are awesome and also utilized constantly.
Yeah, definitely when it comes to serving drinks. And I always think of like broth. I don't know, like soup. It's always where I go. Usually hungry though. Think the alcohol side of that makes way more sense.
I always get so focused on food cost, and that's where like alcohol is so expensive. So it's like every drop I'm paying attention to.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you have like a 500 person event you're catering and you like have this budgeted out for your alcohol and you need this much vodka or this much rum to make these drinks, and then you're halfway through the night and you are short, which could be because people are drinking more, but Juliana, you have a question?
Yes, when you're talking about alcohol, it's a rule. For example, 1 bottle of we say vodka is 750 milligrams. It's about 14 drinks. It always depends how many ounces you want to use in each cocktail or drink.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a-
definitely.
Is it rules or you have to be like a 14 drinks per bottle if you use it to 2 ounces, or what is the normal, the average?
you
1.5
can
or
do
2?
whatever you want, honestly. I mean, there's some places that probably have people pour less. There's some places that have people pour more. It probably depends on what you're mixing and drinking. I mean, if you're talking like you're serving a Long Island iced tea and you got 5 different liquors,
Oh yeah.
you're not going to be putting that much in each one of each thing. But if you only have like 1 liquor in it, then you could. So I think it really varies and how you do it, which again is totally diving into costing a little bit much. But that's exactly it when you're talking your costing and like you're talking food costs. But if you have somebody who's pouring more liquor than you've accounted for or than you planned, now you're basically losing money because your bartender is trying to get better tips, usually.
Yeah.
How that plays out.
That's why it's for your inventory, right? Because you already know if, like I say, it depends if it is if rules, you know, you can use it 2 ounces or 1.5. It depend the established, right?
It's usually called, like, actually, they usually have a top that goes on it that pours it's called a jigger. It's
Yeah.
1.5 ounces or 1 shot. And it usually only pours 1 at a time. Now, if you're a tricky bartender, you know how to bypass that pour pass thing. There's a way. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely ways to like have a standardized, this is what we pour for this drink. This is the expectations. This is what I expect. Because that's how you have your costs under control and how you make money doing it.
Because I remember one of my jobs was working catering events, you know,
Mhm.
Some days we gotta sell the alcohol, so we know we have to make 14 drinks by bartenders, and then we find out some bartenders give you less, so some bartenders make 18 drinks for bottle, so they was stealing 4 drinks for each bottle.
Oh, wow. See, that's something different than I would have thought. See, I would have gone like they were pouring heavier, so they're
That's
had
why
less drinks.
that's why I was asking if they have any rules or depend established if they want to use the 1.5 or 2 ounces for each drink. So yeah, we found out that we have one bartender. He was
Making
making
drinks.
drinks, 18 drinks. So he was stealing 4 drinks in each bottle. So how we can,
That's
how,
so sneaky.
yeah, I know. How we can have a control on that? Make it get inventory every time, or because sometimes it's cash too.
Yeah, so one thing that we do in our catering business is we pre-batch cocktails ahead of time, so we know exactly the strength and how much we're using. Because we also guesstimate when we're charging the customer ahead of time. We're going to assume that each person is going to drink maybe 4 ounces of alcohol, for example. So that's 2 or 3 mixed cocktails, or they're having 4 ounces of wine. That's only really for liquor. If you want to add beer, that's kind of a whole different thing because you can drink a lot more volume of beer. So we pre-batch ahead of time. And so also that saves on time. So all those really long lines at the cash bar. So people are coming up, and my bartenders aren't mixing drinks. They're just taking an iced cup and they're filling it to a line. So they're not mixing and matching like at the same time. So unless it's like a bourbon and Coke and you are pouring it, to order, especially all of the things are kind of batched ahead of time. So that's one way we can keep ahead of it, but we also charge a hefty sum for having alcohol. So, and we pay our bartenders and we don't allow tips. So that's the other thing is that way people are not encouraged to pour too much or something like that.
Okay.
At the same sense, if you're in like a, let's say, restaurant setting and you're trying to have your bartenders under control, you know how many, like if you've ever bartended or been behind a bar, there's basically like you have your liquor bottles, they're all open. You know how much are in them. Like your manager should look at it every morning and every night, just kind of levels of them. And any replacement ones are never, they're never like right there behind it. Like you usually have to go to a different room or a different area to get one. So it's very obvious to look at the shelf and be like, oh, there's 1 bottle of this, 2 bottles of that, 3 missing. And that's what you went through that night. And then you can look at your ordering system or your point of sale system and see like, oh, there was a bunch of people drinking Bacardi. That's why we went through 3 bottles, because each shot is paid for, each drink is paid for, which should show how much. So you should have like a way to electronically go back and see how many drinks were served of what kind of liquor or what drinks were made as well. And you could probably, I mean, you could definitely see if like somebody took a whole bottle or something like that. If they were just pouring weaker drinks and drinking them themselves, that would be really hard to try and figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole different game. That's when you just need to watch whoever's behind the bar.
Liquor, you have to be very careful because sometimes, believe it or not, it's more. I think it's more easy the food.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
More
Definitely.
lose or steal. People that can steal money on liquor is much easier the food.
Yeah. Harold, do you have a question? Is it about liquor?
Of course. The one thing I do know is I used to bartend down in Tennessee. A lot of states are different though, that with your alcohol costs and stuff, you got to be careful that bartenders aren't over pouring, because if they're over pouring, not only does it reduce your sale level, but if somebody is being served too much and they go out and get
Oh,
mad,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
guys
that's a huge liability.
for that.
Yeah, that's a huge liability, and having people leaving your establishment, driving, and just being overserved in general. Why insurance is so important. I always throw that in there. So let's do some more math problems. Just a couple more because we're kind of getting close on our time. But that's a great little tidbit of just going off and why some of this stuff is important, for sure. How many ounces are in 3 pints? So you'd have to know how many ounces are in 1 pint first. And then you do your math. So you have 16 ounces in 1 pint, times it by your 3. You should get a bunch of 48s. Nice job. How many?
I'm sorry. Can we go back to that one? I'm so sorry.
No, you're okay. Yeah, definitely. How many ounces are in 3 pints? So your
So do we-
first,
Yeah, can you break that down to me? I'm sorry, guys.
don't be sorry. That is literally what we're here for. So you'd figure it out. You'd want to know how many ounces are in 1 pint, which is 16. Now, if you don't know that, there's always a way to find that other than Google. Google's there. Is like, there's, let's say, 2 cups in 1 pint. You remember that. There's 8 ounces in 1 cup. You can then basically take your 2 cups times your 8 ounces. Oops. Oh, weird. My fat fingers times your 8 ounces. Sorry, my calculator's not doing great for me. Equals our 16 ounces in our 1 pint. And then you would multiply that by your 3 pints. So each pint has 16 ounces, 16 times 3, and you get 48 ounces.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, did that help some?
Yeah, a bit it did. Thank you.
Definitely. And again, some of those things are just on that cheat sheet, like knowing there's 16 ounces in a pint. It's one of those things that you could find the problem once you know that. So how many grams are in 10 pounds? Again, your first step would be how many grams are in 1 pound. If you guys don't remember, that was the 454. And then you'd
So
multiply.
454.
Yes. I feel like whoever was just talking, you were saying the right thing and then it stopped. But yeah, so how many grams are in 10 pounds? You would know there's 454 grams in 1 pound. So you got your 454 and you'd multiply that by 10 because we have 10 of them. And we get 4,540. Hope that's what everyone got. Let's try another one. How many ounces are in 3 quarts? Then you'd have to know how many ounces are in 1 quart. Would be 32. If you can't find it on your cheat sheet. So you have your 32 ounces in your 1 quart. Multiply it by your 3 quarts that we have. And we get 96. Nice job, everyone. Oops. How many ounces are in 2 gallons? So again, how many ounces are in 1 gallon? And then you would multiply that by 2 to get how many are in 2 gallons. I always think of gallons like a gallon of milk. That was my first thought. 256. It's like my husband goes through like 2 gallons of milk like in 3 days. That's so disgusting when you put it in ounces, how much milk that is. Like, it's gross. Anyway, 256 ounces is a lot. How many grams are in 3 kilograms? So you'd need to know how many grams are in 1 kilogram. I have to say, it's so hard for me to say it without going there. Every time I say kilogram, I think of like drugs, cocaine, like the TV shows. Like, you got a kilo? So if you need help remembering that, got 1,000 grams to your 1 kilogram. Watch too much crime TV shows. It's 3,000 grams. If you're struggling with that, I hope I gave you a good reminder. Some of it, though, is just playing tricks on your brain and what makes you remember things. So if that works for you like it does me, How many milliliters are in 5 liters? See, then I always think like Coca-Cola, or like Mountain Dew. You got a liter of root beer. And that's what helps me. A liter is always that weird one. You always find them in like 2 liters or your 32 ounces. Like it's very rare you find the liter bottle.
It's 5,000.
Nice job. Yep. So you take that 1,000, multiply it by your 5. How many ounces are in 5 pounds? So how many ounces are in 1 pound? First step always breaking it down. So you would know there's 16 ounces in 1 pound. Multiply it by 5. 16 times 5.
Is it 80? Oh,
Yeah, nice job. You beat me to it. You guys are getting the hang of it. How many grams are in 5 pounds? You take that 454, multiply it by your 5. You should get 2,270. Nice job. How many grams are in 9 kilograms? See, again, it's right where my head goes every time. Well, you know, there's 1,000 grams per kilogram. Multiply that by 9, and you should end up with 9,000. Nice job. See a bunch of right answers in the chat. How many ounces are in 3 pounds? I feel like I asked this one. No, it was 5. Take that 16, multiply it by your 3, and you get 48 ounces. Nice job. Couple more. We should be good for today. How many grams are in 5 ounces? I'm not going to tell you.
Do, 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 do,
Oh,
do.
yeah, that's right. We need our Jeopardy count. We haven't done that yet today.
There's no copyright infringement if we're just humming it, right?
That's
I
too much
can get
Jeopardy.
confused with this. I get confused with this one.
Definitely. So this again is another one that was on that cheat sheet. So you have 1 gram or 1 ounce equals 28.35 grams. So you would take that 28.35, just how many grams are in 1 ounce, and you would multiply it by 5, because we have 5 ounces, and you'd get 141.75 grams. You were measuring it, you would just measure 142 probably. Did
Okay,
that
thank
help
you.
some?
Yeah, I don't know where in the heck I was adding up. I was adding up. I don't even know why I added up 454 times to 2835. I'm losing it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, we haven't done one with the grams and ounces yet, but you can take like that 454 and divide it by 16, like if you forget how many is in an ounce. And you can take that number, still multiply it by your 5, and you're pretty dang close. I mean, in terms of measuring on a scale, that's about the same answer. It's just different rounding, but you could figure it out with that. Let's try this one now that we know how many grams are in an ounce. How many grams are in 14 ounces? So again, you take that 28.35. How many grams are in 1 ounce? And you would multiply it. I love seeing that. By your 14.
Is it 390, 690?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Nice job. Well, that is really all I had for today. Yeah. Oh, actually, not all I had. Let me pull it up real quick in case you need to know. Does anyone have any questions though about any of this?
This is the last session for this. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I'm just getting it pulled up. Let me jump into, those are all new. Just one of these classes. This probably isn't your class, but that's okay. So in any of your classes that you are in the Start Here section, you can find your online tutoring page here. That's where you find us. Brings you to our tutor page. This tutor page, oops. You can schedule a one-on-one session here. If you do, that is always in your time zone, so that's really cool. Let's see, this is our workshops that we have right now and the times that they are, always posted in Central Time. Here's all the Zoom links to join all those different workshops. And this is where you will find them recorded in the workshop archives. Whew, that was a tongue twister for a minute. You are in Math Foundations right now, so if you click on this, it will bring you to this like Google Docs. And this is the other 3 that we did. This is our 4th one. So that's where you find these. That's where you find all of them, really. If you need any help with costing, Baker's Math, Google Drive, study tips, writing, anything you can think of. We do have some Quizlets, some games, dyslexic reading, text to read to you thing too. All those are awesome. So just, these are resources for you guys to utilize. This schedule does change or tweak a little bit each term. So next term, just know that this might be a little different. I don't know how or what, but it just always is a little different. But they restart every term and they're fantastic resources for you guys to use for whatever class you're in or struggling with. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like me and you both, Zip. I am sleepy today. I think I'm going to go to sleep after this and I'm not waking up for a while. That's my plan. I might eat a snack. Snacks are the best. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to